How do you get on this, or do you have to be pre-registered?
You have, there's a passcode first you get No, I know.
Okay.
Shalom Aleichem Malachei Shalom Malachei Elyon Imeler Malachei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Boachem Shalom Malachei Shalom Malachei Elyon Melech Malchei Amlachim Kadosh Baruch Bachuni Shalom Malachei Shalom Malachei Elyon Melech Malchei Amlachim Kadosh Baruch Tzedchem Shalom Malachei Shalom Malachei Elyon Melech Malchei Amlachim Kadosh Baruch Shalom Aleichem Malachei Sharet Malachei Elyon Melech Malchei Amlachim Kadosh Baruch Shalom Aleichem Malachei Sharet Malachei Elyon Melech Malchei Amlachim Kadosh Baruch Shalom Aleichem Malachei Sharet Malachei Elyon Melech Malchei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Shalom Malachei Shalom Malachei Elyon Melech Malchei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Shalom Malachei Shalom Malachei Elyon Melech Malchei Amlachim Kadosh Baruch Bachundi Shalom Malachei Shalom Malachei Elyon Melech Malchei Amlachim Kadosh Baruch. Last one, Tzedchem Shalom Malachei Shalom Malachei Elyon Melech Malchei Amlachim Kadosh Baruch Tzedchem Shalom Malachei Shalom Malachei Elyon Melech Malchei Amlachim Kadosh Baruch Tzedchem Shalom Malachei Shalom Malachei Elyon Melech Malchei Amlachim HaKadosh Baruch.
Thank you, Brian. If people don't know Brian, you can check out his bio and his webpage. I just posted it in the chat. So lots going on this week, despite it being the middle of August, the first time I ever remember there being so many things going on in Shul. So first of all, a mazel tov to Leah Praskin on the birthday of her great-grandson, Asher Joseph Praskin, and to the parents, Alex and Jessica. Here's what's happening this week. So this week, Minyan took a step inside Services were held in the sanctuary on Thursday morning for the first time, and we'll be making some small tweaks after consulting the advisory committee and the logistics committees. And most of our minyanim are still going to be in the tent, but we're moving inside to see how to do that. And you can check the schedule to see which minyanim are inside and which are outside, and they're all on Zoom. And everyone is welcome to come virtually or in person. And even as we speak, they are installing the live stream equipment. So hopefully in a couple of weeks, we'll be able to do that as well from the sanctuary. This Sunday morning is the Yiddish Winkel at 10, the Chug Ivri at 11. On Monday, I will be teaching a class for people from around the country as part of a national program called Jew It at Home, lectures and conversations during the month of Elul. So mine's going to be at 1 o'clock, and you can check the email for that. I'm going to be talking about Jewish perspectives on humility, if that's interesting to you. And on Monday night, Sheila Reinhold is back with a little evening music, which is really successful and popular. On Tuesday, we're trying something very different. We are having a movie night. The only thing is you have to watch the movie on your own time before Tuesday night. It's a movie that many people have seen. It's called The Women's Balcony. It's a great Israeli film. And our new member, Stephen Gleit, is going to be introducing a discussion about the film. There's going to be a panel discussion with Shuli Spivak and Rabbi Bruce Dickstein about elements of the film. Bruce has done these movie talks many, many times for other congregations, and we're lucky that his part of our congregation is going to be doing them. And if it's successful, if we get a nice crowd, then we'll continue these, and it could be a nice feature to the things that we're doing over the course of the year. Wednesday, you can learn about rash vows and dire consequences in the book of Judges with Professor Diane Sharon from 11 to 12:15 in the morning. Parsha Hebrew class at 8 p.m. with master teacher Cantor Marcia Lane. On Wednesday night is also a Hebrew school town hall, but it's not just for Hebrew school parents. If you'd like to hear what the Hebrew school plans are this year, this is going to be fully remote for the beginning of the year. But we're continuing some interesting things, an innovative one-on-one Hebrew language instruction, and our new family program. And so we'd love for all of you to be on it, whether you have Hebrew school age children or not. And if you know somebody in the neighborhood who might be interested, this is a great time to introduce them to what we have. It's pretty unique in the neighborhood, and it could be a way to engage some people and kids in Jewish learning. Friday is the first shofar blowing for the month of Elul. And there'll be an announcement this week about what that will look like and what shofar blowings will look like over the course of the month. We're hoping to have shofar blowings around Riverdale, so you'll get addresses for when that's going to be happening. And then next Friday night is 6 p.m., Kabbalat Shabbat, but it's going to be a little special Kabbalat Shabbat. It's going to be a launch of our Elul program. You're going to hear more about what's in store for Elul during the month leading up to by holidays and extended Kiddush. We're going to introduce our theme of Tikva, which will be the theme for the night and a theme for the holidays. And there'll be other things happening. So please, and Ben Perlstein is also going to come back and do some music. So all of that is coming up this week. And just before we get started, I just want to note that I celebrate a significant moment in history this week as the United Arab Emirates has formalized its relationship with Israel. It's only the third time in history that an Arab nation has done this. And I have very clear memories of the other times that has happened. I recognize the US administration for their efforts and applaud the United Arab Emirates for willingness to recognize Israel, to deepen the cooperation between the two nations, and live in what I know that we all hope will be peace for a very long time. And that's significant and to be celebrated. Oseh Shalom Bimromav. May God, who makes peace in the heavens, grant peace to us, to all Israel, and to all who dwell on earth. Let's hope that the next week is also filled with good news. And now I'm going to turn it back to Cantor Stevens. Brian Gelfand. I'm going to turn it back to Brian Gelfand.
Hi, I'm wishing you all a, very soon Shabbat Shalom. And I figured, this week I would share with you a melody I wrote for, you'll hear some of the psukim from, they turn up in Adon Olam, but specifically from the prayer for connect to the Shema before you go to sleep. Kind of asking for protection, and I wrote it as a little bit of a lullaby. I guess you'll hear that quality in there. And I guess sometimes I sing it to myself these days, asking for protection. So it goes like this. Hine lo yanu ven lo yisha ansho me'er Yisrael Be'ado avkid ruchi Be'et ishan ve'ayira Hine lo yanum ven lo yisha ansho me'er Yisrael Be'ado avkid ruchi Be'et ishan ve'ayira Ve'im ruchi geneviati Hashem li Ve'im ruchi geneviati Hashem li ve'lo ira Hine lo yanum ve'lo yisha ansho me'er Yisrael Be'ado avkid ruchi Be'et ishan ve'ayira Ve'im ruchi geviati Hashem li Ve'im ruchi geviati Hashem li ve'lo ira Hine lo yanum ve'lo yisha Woof! So me'er Yisrael Be'ado avkid ruchi Be'et ishan ve'ayira
That is one of my all-time Brian Gelfand favorites. He played it for when he was with us for Slichot a few years back, and I loved it then, and it was really kind of extra beautiful just now. Thank you for playing that one. I almost feel like it was, I didn't request it, but I feel like I did.
I heard you.
It was beautiful. And we're gonna continue with Kabbalat Shabbat, starting with Yedid Nefesh. The melody that I've been using the last few weeks is a recently composed melody by Joshua Shosky, and I would love to know what you think of it. You can also feel free to tell me if you miss the old melodies. I'll bring them back too someday soon. But in the meantime, I'm going to give this one more week to let it kind of sink into your ears so you can become familiar. Ay, 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 Yedid nefesh harachamam meshoch avtach eretzonav oyaruch avdach yemor hayishtach Mohadabach, oh yeah, oh yedidutach, binofetzu, lechotam. Ay, 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 Adonai ziv ha'olam nafshi cholat ahavatach ahavatach o ana elna refana la beharot la nam zivach oh as titchazek v'titrape v'haytalach shivchat olam. Ay, 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 ay. Vati yehemu rachamecha v'chusa na al beno avach o ki ze kama nichsof lirot betiferet uzach tiferet uzach o anai li machmad libi chusana ve'atitalam. Ay, 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 nay, 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 ay, 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 nay, 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 Yigalena ufros chaviv alai et sukat shelomach otahir eretz mikevodach nagila v'nismecha bach oh my ahuv kivam lo'er v'choneini kimei olam. Ay, 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 Lechon al Adonai, nariha letzuri shenu. Nekad mapana v'tada v'zmiron nariha lo, yel gadol Adonai, u'malad Elohim, asher b'yadav mefkerei haaretz v'toachot harim lo. ונשתחווה ונקרא נברכה לפני אדוני עושנו. 40 שנה קוד בדור ואמרם לבבם והם ידעו דרכי אשר נשבעתי ואפי אם יבואון אל מנוחתי. שירו לאדוני שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ, שירו לאדוני תפארתו, ספרו בגויים כבודו, וכל העמים נפלאותיו. כי גדול אדוני עולם מאוד, נוראו על כל אלוהים, כי כל אלוהי העמים אלילים, ואדוני שמיים עשה, כבוד והדר לפניו, עוז ותפארת במקדשו. עברו לאדוני משפחות עמים, עברו לאדוני כבוד ועוז. עברו לאדוני כבוד שמו, זהו מנחה ובאו לחצרותיו העיני, השתחוו לאדוני בחגת קודש, חילו מפניו כל הארץ. אמרו בגויים אדוני מלך, תיקון תבל בתיבות, ידין עמים במישרים, ישמחו השמיים ותגל הארץ, ירעם ימום לו, יעלוס עדי וכל אשר בו עיני, אז ירננו כל הצייר לפני אדוני, כי בא ישפוט הארץ, ישפוט תבל בצדק בעמים באמונתו. אדוני מלך תגל הארץ, ישמחו עם רבים. יבשו כל המפלסים, המדברים והאלילים, ישחוו לו כל אלוהים. שמה תזמור ציון ותגלנה בנות יהודה. אור זרוע לצדיק, וישראל לב שמחה. שמחו צדיקים באדוני, והודו לזכר קודשו.
So as we explained a couple weeks ago, we're doing the Dvar Torah each week after one more of the Psalms, so that you can kind of feel how close we're getting to Rosh Hashanah based on where the Dvar Torah is. So we're 3 weeks into our countdown. Before I start with my Dvar Torah, I want to welcome Phyllis Richmond, who's on many of the calls, and the Greenbergs have been many of our calls, but they're also two of our newest member families. We've actually gotten a lot of new members this year. We'll be sending out a announcement about all of them, but you're on the call, so we just wanted to welcome you. And you weren't around 14 years ago, but 14 years ago, we celebrated my daughter Avital's bat mitzvah in the synagogue. And I was looking back over the Torah that I shared back then, and it felt very relevant today. So there's a phrase from tomorrow morning's Torah reading that hints at that joy is rarely a simple thing. It's talking about the holiday of Sukkot. The Torah says, V'hayita ach sameach. V'hayita means, and you shall be. Sameach means happy. But what does that middle word mean? Ach. What does that mean? What does it add to the sentence? And does it limit joy in some way, or does it expand it? I remember when I gave the Dvar Torah in synagogue for my daughter's bat mitzvah, all three of my children responded to this opening with, Ach, Abba, it's just a word, and it's a short word at that. How could you make a whole sermon about that? But In fact, I did. It's important to talk about the achs, those words that you don't always notice, because figuring out the fine print about what it means to be happy is, I think, one of the most serious challenges that people face. Joy isn't always that perfect. And that, I think, is the first meaning of Vahayita ach sameach, and you shall be joyful, but. The Torah's command to be happy comes on only one holiday, Sukkot. It's the time of the celebration. It's the time of the harvest, but it's also the beginning of winter. Farmers begin to worry if they'll have enough to make it through the winter. They are happy, but along with that happiness comes anxiety and worry and a little fear. It's happy, but. There's a midrash that was written 1,500 years ago that sounds like it could have been written for this day. It tells a story of a person who has a child. The person is so happy, but their joy is incomplete. As the Psikta says, Ein simchato shlema. Why? Because this person worries that his daughter, in a world with so many uncertainties, has an uncertain future. He starts thinking about all the scary things that could happen to her, things out of his control. And as joyful as this person must have been to hold the little girl, to tuck her hair back behind her ears, to watch her grow and celebrate, this man, like many, maybe all parents and all people who've ever cared about a kid, reserved a part of his soul for worrying about her. And that sense of Ein Simchato Shlema, his joy was incomplete, is not an indictment of that person. It's a statement about the way the world is built. It's a recognition that anxiety and worry has always been with us, but it's one, I think, that many of us feel very acutely these days. If you read the newspaper, there's been a bunch of articles about how people's anxiety level, people's worry level has just spiked up over the last couple of weeks. So that's one meaning for the phrase Vahayita ach sameach. You should be happy, but. Another meaning is you shall have nothing but joy. While the first reading of the word ach limits happiness, this understanding expands it. It says that there can be happiness that takes over everything. And many translators actually favor this reading. The Hertz Chumash says, and thou shalt be altogether joyful. And my favorite Professor Everett Fox renders it, and you shall be oh so joyful. I can understand why they like that reading of the word. They're thinking about sitting in a sukkah, remembering that the verse has to do with Sukkot. The temperature is just right. You look up, the sun is shining through, people are sitting around a table filled with good food, laughing and singing. What could be wrong? For those few minutes, the world is perfect, and you are, oh, so joyful. So what is it? Is the command on Sukkot to be perfectly joyful or to be joyful but reserved in some way? I'd argue that it's both. I wonder if this curious words hints at a real truth about happiness, one that we know, that it can be full and overwhelming, and at precisely that moment of joy, you can't help but pray a silent prayer. You hope that the dream won't end because you know that this kind of perfection is fleeting. Like a pink, orange, yellow sunset, or the loved one's smile, like a great big bowl of ice cream, or someone who does something really kind for you. It's perfect, and you hope that it doesn't evaporate. The ach is like an ache for the moment to continue to hold on to it and pray, please, 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 don't let this be a dream. But true joy is eyes wide open joy, and acknowledges that things may not be perfect, but that sometimes they can still be wholly joyful. It's all at the same time. It also knows that it's okay to be sad sometimes, to wish that things were different, even in the midst of things being good, and for sure when we have worries. When Avital had her bat mitzvah, and the people on the call, there's a bunch of you I saw who were there that weekend. The shul, if you remember, was under construction. Despite Herculean efforts by the shul, the bat mitzvah was held in a sanctuary stripped bare. The walls were rough. The floor was concrete. The bima was raw plywood. The bathrooms had curtains for stalls. Think about that for a moment. When it was clear that the sanctuary would not be complete by the bat mitzvah, many people were disappointed. I was disappointed, even though I tried really hard not to show it. I wanted everything to just be perfect. But as the RSVP started coming in, I knew that perfection wasn't in the walls, that what would make the space a holy space would be the people who filled it. And when people from so many parts of our life came together to pray in our shul, our family and friends from all around the world, people from the congregation, people from the neighbor, people whom we love with all of our hearts, when I saw how Avital shined and the room overflowed with blessings, I was so happy. The finished and furnished sanctuary did bring me great joy, but it's always the people in the room that complete it for me. And today, in the shadow of coronavirus, the shul is, as many of you know, moving forward to doing some services in the building on weekdays, and soon that'll be on Shabbat and on holidays. And even with the live stream being installed as we speak, I think about how it will be nice. It will be lovely. It will be joyful to be in the sanctuary. And I know that I will miss so many people who cannot be there in person with me. I will pray that each week soon, we will all be there together. That's my promise. Every week in the sanctuary, I'm going to be praying that we're all there together. Of course, with live stream, if that's your choice, but hopefully one day also in person. It's great joy with an asterisk. That's what we get in this world. And I think that's what it is these days. It's probably always been that way. Our job is to take note of the ways in which joy is incomplete, to give ourselves a few minutes in the anxiety and the worry, and then just leaving ourselves as open as we can to the happiness when it comes. It's about being active creators of joy for ourselves and for others. It's about looking for ways, despite limitations, to see and be producers of moments of joy for each other. So as we head into Shabbat, what would it be to think about one way that you could bring joy into the world this week, whether joy for yourself or joy for somebody else? What would it look like? I bet it wouldn't take much. And if you come up with something really good, I hope that you'll tell me. And I really hope that not only do you come up with a good idea, but that you actually do it. As we head into this new year, we'll be looking for ways to connect with every person in the show. We'll continue to rely on people doing the work in their emunah groups and their own friendship circles and beyond. And if you have ideas about things that we can do as a community, if you have a project you want to take on to increase the good the joy that overwhelms, then please let us know. Because the is also an ache for the moment to continue to hold on to it and to pray. Please don't let this be a dream. I wish all of you great moments of joy over Shabbat and in the coming weeks. Shabbat Shalom.
Yasher Koach, thank you for those beautiful words. Mizmor shiru ladonai shir chadash ki niflaot asa hoshia lo yemino uzero akodesho dia Adonai Yeshuato ve'enei hagoyim gilat tzidkato Zachar chasto ve'emunato levet Yisrael ra'u chol achsei aretz et Yeshuat Eloheinu hariyu ladonai kol haaretz pitzchu ve'ranenu ve'zameru zamru ladonai bechinor ve'kol zimra בחצות רת וקול שופר הריעו לפני המלך אדוני ירם הים ומלואו תבל ויושבי בנהרות ימחאוך יחד הרים ירננו לפני אדוני כי בא לשפוט הארץ ישפוט תבל בצדק ועמים במישרים ניי 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 אדוני מלך ירגזו עמים, יושב קרובים תנות הארץ. אדוני בציון גדול, וראו על כל העמים. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו להר קודשו, כי קדוש אדוני אלוהינו. מזמור לדוד, הבו לאדוני בני אלים, הבו לאדוני כבוד באוזני, הבו לאדוני כבוד שמו, השתחוו לאדוני אדרת קודש, כל אדוני על המים, אל הכבוד ירים. אדוני המים רבים, כל אדוני בכוח עיני, כל אדוני בהדר, כל אדוני שובר ארזים, אשבר אדוני את הזהרנון, וירקידם כמו עגל לבנון, וסריון כמו ולמים עיני, כל אדוני חותם להבות אש, כל אדוני יכיל מדבר, יכיל אדוני מדבר קדש, כל אדוני חולל עיינות, ויחסו יערות, ולהיכלו כולו עובר כבוד אליי, אדוני למה לא ישב וישב, אדוני מלך לעולם, אדוני עוז לעם לא ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו השלום.
לך דודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלו. לך דודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלו. שמור וזכור בדיבור אחד השמיענו, אל עם יוחד אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד השם ולתפארת ולתחילת עולם. אחד דודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. אחד דודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי מקור אברמך מראש מקדם, נעשוך סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. אחד דודי לקראת קלה, בני שבת נקבלה. אחד דודי לקראת Kabbalah, B'nei Shabbat Kabbalah, Mikdash Melech, Ir Melucha Kumitzi, Mitoch Raverav Lashem, Yei Mekabov, Lahu Yachamol, Allah Yichamla, Echadodi, Ikrat Kabbalah, B'nei Shabbat Kabbalah, Echadodi, Ikrat Kabbalah, B'nei Shabbat Kabbalah, Itna Ari, Me'afar Kumi Livshi Bigdei, Tifatecha Mi Al Yad Yishai Beit Alachmi Parva Al Nafshi Ge'ala Echadodi Ikrat Kabbalah B'nei Shabbat Kabbalah Echadodi Ikrat Kabbalah B'nei Shabbat Kabbalah Echadodi Ikrat Kabbalah B'nei Shabbat Kabbalah Hitori Kiva Ori Uri Shida Baby Kevod Adonai Alaich Nigla Lebechavdodi Ikrat Kabbalah B'nei Shabbat Kabbalah Lo tevoshi Lo tikami Matishtochachu Umateni Bach Yesu Ariyami Benignatam Iroti Lecha Yodi Bechan Kala B'nei Shabbat Kabbalah Ayulim Shiso Shosai Verachaku Bevalayich Yasis Alayich Eloayich Kim Sachatan Al Kala Lechadodi Ikrat Kabbalah B'nei Shabbat Kabbalah Yaminu Smoti Vroti Et Adonai Ta'aritzi Al Yadish Ben Varti Ben Ismecha Ben Agila Levechadodi Ikrat Kabbalah B'nei Shabbat Kabbalah Boi v'shalom Ateret ba'alam gam berina Uvetzala toch emunei Am segulam boi chala Lebechamdodi Likram kalam B'nei Shabbat Kabbalah Lebechamdodi Likram kalam B'nei Shabbat
I love listening to you play, Brian. Thank you so much. So it is now time for us to take a minute and, in the spirit of what I said before, right, in the spirit of all that joy from Lecha Dodi, to also think about the people who are sick and need of healing. I know that many people are on the call, and people in the congregation have people who need the strength of our prayers. And so I'm gonna I'm gonna do the Mishaberach. And today I'm gonna stop when I get to the word cholim, which means those who need a healing. And then you can fill in your names. You can say them. You can put them in the chat, whatever you feel comfortable with. And then when I feel like people have said what they have to say, then I'll continue. Misha Berach, Avotenu, Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Sarif, Karachel, Leah, Uyivarech, V'rapeh Tacholim.
What am I doing with this? Putting it on the plate?
Pinchas ben Esther Chava.
Rachel
Oh,
Bar
him.
Shoshana.
Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Do you remember the congregation?
David Gebel.
Batya Man, Bertha Man.
Howard Hazelcorn.
Sharon Rothenberg.
Kadosh Baruch Hu Yimalei Rachamim Aleim, Lachzikam L'Rapotam, Vishlach Lehem. Meira Refuah Shema L'chol Ebreim V'Gideim B'toch Shacholei Yisrael. Refuat HaNefesh, Refuat HaGuf. Hashta B'Galav Yizman Kariv V'Nomar Amen. I God bless their ancestors, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah, bless and heal all in need of healing. May the Holy One in mercy strengthen them and heal them soon, body and soul, together with all others who suffer illness. May God send strength to those who are caregivers, and let us say Amen. And now we'll recite the Kaddish, prayer in place of Kaddish. God of all spirits, in whose hands rest the souls of the living and the dead, graciously and mercifully accept our prayers on behalf of our loved ones, and remember all of the good and kind things that they did in this world. Grant them peaceful rest in the upper world, which is completely good. Yitkadal v'yitkadash, may God's great name be sanctified and glorified. Oseh Shalom, may God, who makes peace in the high places, make peace for us, for all Israel, and for all who live on earth. V'yimru, and let us say Amen. And if people want to share who they are saying Kaddish for this evening, you can unmute yourselves and share those names, or you can put them in the chat.
My father, Emmanuel Rizek.
Maxima Trambert.
Meredith Baskin.
Toby Weintraub.
Michael K.
Ben Proctor.
So many familiar names. May their memories be a blessing. And now join with me. You can leave yourselves unmuted for this. El Elohei Haruchot, Asher Biadcha Nafshot Achayim V'Hametim, Pnei Hayom B'Chesed U'V'Rachamim, El Tfilatenu L'Zecher Yekirenu, U'Zochorna Et Kol HaChesed V'Atov, She'asu Ba'olam Hazeh. Tein Lehem Menucha Nechona, Ba'olam Ha'elyon, Olam Shekulo Tov. Yitkadal V'Yitkadash Shemei Rabbah. Oseh Shalom Bimromav. Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'Al Kol Yisrael V'Al Kol Yoshvei Tevel V'Yimru Amen. Okay, so thank you for everybody. Brian's gonna play one more piece, and then afterwards we're gonna have Kiddush with Cantor Stevens. So stick around.
na 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 na.
Alrighty, so we've turned off the spotlight video, and if you go and you click in the upper right hand corner, there should be a little button there to turn it into gallery mode so that you can see everyone.